to order. I want to welcome everybody to our regular meeting of the Bardstown City Council. I think we've been 3 weeks since we had our last meeting. We had one of those 5 Tuesday nights before here, so whenever you got that much time in between meetings, there's a whole lot of people coming to see us about putting stuff on the agenda. So we've got full boat tonight, so just bear with us as we'll try to get through it. I'm going to move a few things around so we can kind of get some of the guests we had this evening through the meeting, so they won't have to stay for all the rest of it. So I think everybody who's with us tonight has something on the agenda for the most part, so we don't have anybody to recognize. First order of business, I'm going to go ahead and move our tourism budget up in the thing. And we have Samantha Brady, who's the head of the Tourist Commission, with us tonight, who can answer some questions. And Samantha, I don't know if you have any comments you want to make to the council about the budget.
Well, I know that you all got a tight schedule, so I'll try to make it quick because you know I have a lot of words. But I just thought I would, sometimes I feel like I probably don't give you a lot of information about what tourism does. So I thought I'd just give you a very, very brief summary, and I promise I'll keep it short. So a lot of people know brands like James B. Beam and Heaven Hill, but what they don't know is where they're at. And we, as a tourism director, we have to make sure that we connect them to the bourbon capital of the world. And in turn, making sure that they stay at our restaurants, drink at our bars, stay in our hotels, all those different things help and impact the economy. So that kind of just gives you a brief summary of why we do what we do. This year, the Tourism Board also started a hospitality association, which is to educate and engage and support and develop top-level hospitality professionals. And this is to make the visitor's experience better. And so we've lifted that off, and that's been a pretty heavy lift, and it added a lot to our workload, but we think it's worth it because the experience at the end of the day is what they're going to come back for. So we think it's worth it. We were featured on just some highlights: Good Morning America, Garden and Gun Magazine, Kentucky Living, The Lane Report, tons of bourbon podcasts. We did the Gumball 3000. I don't know if you all saw that, but there was a lot of people in town. There was a lot of celebrities, and that brought a really good family fun event. But what it also did is introduced us to some international markets and to some celebrity and YouTubers that have never even knew we were on the map. So that's what we really went on here for. With 3 new hotels on the way, we've shifted a lot of our focus to fill in those hotel rooms, especially on off-season and nights that they're not full, because we have 3 new hotels and 2 on the way. That requires a lot of work. So we go to those bus association meetings that we're trying to get throughout the week and trying to get back in that market, and also international travel. We're hitting that pretty hard. And speaking of international travel, I had somebody from Brand USA, and so I'm a DMO, a Destination Organization Management here in Bardstown, Kentucky. Brand USA is for the United States of Kentucky, and it's like a $10 million deal with the state of Kentucky and Brand USA that they partnered, and so it's an international, it's to get more international people to see Kentucky. And so they came in during a little bit after National Bourbon Day, but they still were able to see the street concert. We had her go on the front porch of Freddie No's house, and she had bourbon. She thought that was rock star moment for her. She's from London, England. She took pictures of almost every house. We walked from the Oscar Getz Museum down to Freddie's house, and she took a picture, I think, in front of every historic house that there was, and said she wanted all of them. Heaven Hill opened especially for her. So all those things were really, really great for Bardstown. We're working on a magazine-style visitors guides. We focused our budget mostly on digital marketing because that's where everyone's shifting. We partnered with the Bardstown Collection, which was a pretty heavy lift, and we earned a ton of media. I forget how many millions of hits we got on that. And then we also gave money back to the community, $149,000, and that went to the Main Street program, and then also Nelson County Dispatch and the Hospitality Association to educate them. And I think you all got my notes on the budget, but I just thought I would just take just a second to have that moment, because a lot of times I don't take that opportunity to do it. So any questions that you have, please let me know.
I've got a couple, Samantha.
Sure.
I know you're No, I'm happy that you all have increased your community grant money, which I'm happy that you all are doing that, but you put that up to 12% this year over 10% normally, so that's good, so that money will help other attractions and stay competitive. I'm just curious, on your budget, you show $285,000 in July, like it looks like to me that's a transfer in of reserves.
It is.
Okay.
It's not reserved, well, it's just a carryover.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's money you already have in reserve that you can, then you spend that throughout the year with that and the EDA and marketing funds.
Yes.
Okay.
So that the EDA is 25,000, and just heads up, we may get more EDA grant money, but I could have put it in the budget because I really have no idea. It's the first time that tourism's got that, I don't know, since I've been around for a long time. So tourism doesn't typically get EDA grants, but
Good.
this is a good first time for us.
And then you're showing that you're going to do a remodel on the visitor center, but it looks like that's allocated for the first July and August. Are you
Yes.
going to do it during those 2 months?
Well, no, I think that was just to
I
kind
hope
of,
so.
no, we're probably not going to get people to work.
January
that
or
quick.
February would be a good time to do that.
Yeah, that's probably when that's gonna happen, but the money might start to come out during that time, so that's when we put it
I
in
just
there.
thought-
But at 91,000, so that's probably a first phase, and it's really not anything reconstructive. It'll be carts and things that are movable, it'll be couches, and it'll open up that area a lot more so when you walk in, and it'll have the theme of bourbon. So it'll be really cool, but there's not a lot you can do with $91,000, but we, that's the first phase.
All right. That's all the questions I have. Anybody else have any other questions?
How are y'all gonna end up this year? I assume you'll be in the black.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're good. The carryover is $285,000 is what we're
Oh,
carrying
that's where
over.
it comes from?
Yeah, and then the EDA grant is the $25,000. We had a really, really great
Came
year.
back strong after the,
We absolutely did. So I started, my first day, I laid off 3 people and canceled $450,000 worth of marketing, all the way to this year, to the best year that we've ever seen in the history of Bardstown tourism. So I've seen it the worst and the best.
Yeah, if y'all remember, they talked about Samantha got hired right before
Right.
COVID hit. So,
Yeah, the best and the worst, yeah. I like this year a lot better.
here it shut down. Other questions on the budget that Samantha's presented? We have to approve it, as does fiscal court.
They've already approved.
Well, if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the budget from the Tourist Commission as presented. Looks like it's roughly $1.447 million.
so moved.
A motion by Councilwoman Hart, is there a second? Second by,
Councilman Williams, go for it.
all right, Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Thank you,
Thank you.
Samantha. Good luck on your next year's
Adventure.
work. All right, then next on budget stuff, we'll call on, we have the budget for our E911 Dispatch Center, and Joe Pruitt, who heads up our emergency services in the county, is here if he's got any questions for the E911 budget.
Also handed out, Gary handed out a 5-year comparison. Thought that would be of interest to the council to see how dispatch has operated over the last 5 years. The numbers are pretty flat, not a big change in the revenue or expense over that 5 years. Of course, our payroll goes up each year, as does the tax revenue on property. Goes up a little bit to offset that.
Joe, your guys are not considered hazardous duty workers, are they?
No, they're CERs,
Okay. Not hazardous.
non-hazardous, right. The only other thing you might note, as some of you recall, we had a debt with the county over the past few years for equipment purchases that were made early on. This budget represents the final payment of $19,000 that'll clear that debt up on dispatch.
Good deal. I probably asked you this before, Joe. Contract services, that's $76,000. Is that,
That is basically our contracts on our different vendors, our CAD system
Okay.
falls into that, maintenance on that and equipment, those type of things, radio equipment.
okay.
Joe, that 19,925 is what you're referencing, right? As
At
far
the
as-
bottom item, that's the final payment to the fiscal court for the money that was borrowed from them early on. I think it was like our original loan amount was around $280,000. We paid $50,000 a year toward that up till this year.
Your telephone expense went down this year from last year.
Which line are you on?
Yeah, about fifth from the bottom, the telephone.
If the telephone is, we actually piggyback, our primary vendor is Metro Global for our 911 circuits, and they house the actual servers for that, so we piggyback off of that. There is a fee that we pay annually or monthly to them, both through AT&T and to Metro for the use of that equipment, plus our office lines, our business lines that are used non-emergency lines.
Joe, how's your staffing? I mean, are you having struggles as everyone else?
Well, of course, we have two other board members here that's on the dispatch board, Chief President and Chief Maglin. And our department's like any other department in the dispatch. It's EMS, dispatch, fire, police, struggling to keep those spots filled or with trained personnel is a challenge. Right now, we're in pretty good shape. The director of dispatch has been out on a medical leave, but he'll be back soon and get a hold of things and see what we can do from there.
You're able so far to compete with neighboring counties and such?
So far.
Okay.
That changes pretty much monthly or weekly.
Thank you, sir.
How's,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
How many units do y'all have? 3?
Dispatch.
Ambulances?
Oh, ambulances, we have 9
9.
trucks we run 4 a day when we have staff to fill all 4.
Gotcha.
Pretty much most days we do, but then when you have a call in, it's a struggle to try to fill that extra person. So we mandatory if we get down to 3 trucks, then I have to mandatory to make sure we have the 3 trucks. Caught me off guard there.
Are we having any issues with areas in the county where we cannot, we're dropping signals or anything like that?
Yes. There's a lot of areas in the county, especially South End, that have dead spots, whether it be a radio or a cell phone. The LD Lake area is a good example. Cell phones, radios, it's just a dead area. But closer to home, the area around Flagstaff Hospital has an atmospheric dead spot. I don't know why, but yeah, we have several dead spots.
About from Cedar Field to the Flash 8, depending on who you're talking to on the phone, what service they got.
And the radio system's similar to
You
that.
can say, I know where you are. You're right near the hospital in Burnheim.
Yeah, the rock wall,
Yeah.
that's another dead issue.
Any other questions of Mr. Pruitt on the budget for our dispatch?
Budget for that, what Joe said.
Yeah, they've done a good job of working, their budget hasn't inflated like some of the others we've seen over the last 5 years, so
It's a challenge.
I'd say so. Y'all doing a good job of working within your means.
Mayor, if I might be in order, I'd recommend a motion to approve the E911 dispatch budget for fiscal year 22-23.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Shekels, is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Hibbs, any further discussion? All in favor, then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Appreciate you coming this evening. All right, we've got one more group with us. We have a road closure request and a donation request by Buttermilk Days. Joe and Wayne, and I think Councilman Dolan, are you the sponsor of the donation request? Did you know that?
I think it's me.
I think it's Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do it, but I think it's on Joe.
I'm sorry, I think I did see that.
It is.
All right, let's go with the road closure first, if you don't mind. Joe, you or Wayne want to talk about it?
Wayne, go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Well, everybody knows we have buttermilk every year. It's like our 20th year, 29th year. I missed 1 year, sorry. I was in the hospital, but closing this off is a real good deal for the community. As we bring in a lot of people, and we feed them breakfast in the morning. So we're requesting to shut the street off on Friday afternoon until Sunday morning.
Same as normal.
Yeah.
Same as normal, it's no different.
Payne Avenue
To McGee,
to McGee.
and then Payne's we one way,
Yeah,
I
one
guess,
way.
coming off the fourth.
Right.
Yeah, it's the safest way.
Does anybody have any questions on road closure? This is the same as they always have done. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the road closure request for Buttermilk Days.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Jones, a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain, Mayor.
Okay. Let the record show Councilman Shekels abstains since he's involved with the festival. Then we'll go to the donation request. I think that's where Councilman Buckman's involved as a sponsor of that one. And you all want to talk, I know you kind of earmarked it for, I guess your security.
Security, yeah. And I think this year is gonna be probably a little bit busier because everybody kind of opened up. So it's gonna be necessary. And I know Chief's gonna be on her job too, so we ain't got much to worry about.
Looks like y'all were requesting $2,500 for the help with your security for those 2 days, and that's the same request that you had last year, I think.
Yes.
And
Not only about the security, it's in addition to the street cleanup and the parking situation. It takes about that much to do that. Keep things in order.
I don't have a question about the donation request, but who's the entertainment?
Well, Friday night, we got JD Show, and of course, Chief already knows that. Then we got TD Young out of Lexington, the Pearl out of Louisville, and of course, our local Big Black Cadillac, which is a favorite. We always try to go from a regional to the local band, somebody, that people here are familiar with.
you might need more than $2,500. Keep that.
We'll definitely have to adjust our numbers, especially for JD,
Yeah,
because he brings in a large crowd.
yeah, that's,
You got rained out last year, didn't it?
well, we won't talk about that.
No, we won't talk about that.
Our stage situation got messed
You were
up.
upstage last year.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. Bill gets his hair grows back. So. Yeah, we kind of was a little bit upset about that. I mean, we got jerked around on that deal. We learned from our mistakes.
Well, then, if there's no other questions of Joe or Wayne on the request for the donation, I entertain a motion to approve the request for $2,500 for this year's festival.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Williams, second by Councilman Buckman. Any further discussion? And all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
All right, let the record show Councilman Shekels abstains. Motion is carried by unanimous vote of the 5 others. Thank you guys, and thank you all.
Thank you. Hope to see y'all Thursday night. too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go back and get back on our regular schedule. Next, under bids, we just have an amendment to our Coleman's Crossing Pump Station Engineering Services, and Dylan Durbin's with us tonight. Jessica's, she was off yesterday, not feeling so well, but Dylan's filling in for her tonight. So Dylan, you want to speak to this, please?
Sir, so this is an amendment to the engineering service agreement with HDR for the Coleman's Crossing and Roadcrest pump stations. So if you remember, last council meeting, there was a change order for 121 additional days to that contract time, just due to the material delays. So this is just HDR side of things to try to recover their fee for that extra 4 months, because they'll be providing extra monthly progress meetings, site visits, pay requests, and those types of things. So that comes out to $2,200 a month times those 4 months. That's where you get the extra $8,800.
How many days did you say?
120.
120, so
Yes.
4 months. So this is just the increase for their oversight of the project, so.
Is that primarily because we couldn't get products?
Yes.
Is that the reason?
Yeah, some of the materials for the pump station equipment has been
Yes,
forever.
over a year, some of them.
So this is just, like you said, the additional meeting time that they're going to
Right,
be sitting in over the
yes,
next 4 months.
Same old story, everybody's got these pains, so.
Just make sure they're there.
If there's no other questions for Dylan, I would entertain a motion to approve the amendment to HDR's contract because of the additional 120 days of oversight they're going to have to provide on this project.
I'll make the motion, man.
I have a motion by Councilman Hibbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jones. Any further discussion?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Well, I guess this is standard procedure, but the company that, well, if they can't get the product, you can't really hold them accountable, though. But I know HDRs, they're still going to be here. So there's no way you can recoup that. I'm just par for the course for delays.
I think most of it's us not being able to get the materials right, and we're just on the engineering side.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking about it.
Yeah, they do the design on it, and then they do the oversight of the project as it goes through construction phase. But
So it's basically retained, more or less.
as Dylan said, they sign off on all the draws on the contract. They go in and inspect it, make sure that that work has been provided, and they approve those draws before we ever issue payment. So that's part of their function. But I think Jessica and Dylan, I think you repeated, we've had some stuff that's been on order for a year.
Yes.
Is there 2 or 3 pump stations?
It's 2, well, we've done, this is our 3rd one under this contract, but yeah, these are 2 right now that's going on. Yeah.
So tell Dylan, just make sure that they're there.
You have a problem with it?
Signals, by the way.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Thank you, Dylan. All right. Now, I guess, looks like we're down to first readings. Oh, I'm sorry, minutes. That's why you're here, Gary. That didn't highlight it as much.
Yes, no, it's not.
We have minutes of meeting on, regular meeting on the 24th, and then our special call meeting on the 26th of May. If there's no changes or additions, we can approve those minutes, both those minutes by unanimous consent. Okay, now we have a summary of our, first reading summary of our ordinance for fiscal year '23 annual budget. So, Audrey, you want to go through and have?
We need somebody to introduce.
Oh, yeah, and someone needs to introduce it, I'm sorry.
I'm going to be in order, Mayor. I introduce the summary of ordinance B 2020-06, our annual budget for the fiscal year 2022 through 2023. And that's our city attorney too.
Thank you. Summary of ordinance number B 2022-06, annual budget for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. An ordinance adopting the City of Bardstown, Kentucky annual budget for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of the city government. Whereas an annual budget proposal and message has been prepared and delivered to the City Council, and whereas the City Council has received and reviewed the budget proposal and made desired modifications, now therefore be it ordained by the City of Bardstown, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, that the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023 is hereby adopted as set forth below on the chart. Section 2, that any and all ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed. And Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect July 1st, 2022 after its passage and publication as required by the law.
And Aaron, would you want to comment on the use of the unrestricted reserves for the balancing of the budget?
As we've discussed in prior meetings, we've had unrestricted reserves available even from our FY21 audit, and then this year we're going to add to those reserves even more. So I don't show it as a lot of municipalities would show, like the beginning net resources available. I just show it down and dirty. This is what we're going to spend, and then my net is going to show a negative. The municipal road aid, again, that's negative. It's basically negative because of a transfer to one of our street department. And then the lagoon cleaning funds, using $450,000. We have $500,000 available. So we're going to use some of that money to help fund some of the lagoon projects we got at Jerry Riley and Town Creek.
And then, you know, at the very bottom, the balance is being done by the use of unrestricted reserves to balance the budget.
That's correct.
Okay, first reading, so we don't have to have a vote on that this evening, so I guess we'll move on then to our fiscal year 22 budget amendment. So Aaron, would you want to speak to that, please?
So as we have been discussing month to month, the city financially is outperforming budget in both of our main operating funds. This amendment ordinance is just to adjust some of the various lines that are showing throughout our departments that reflect kind of a variance between what we budgeted and what we're actually experiencing. So I'm not, when you look at it, it's still relatively conservative as far as, whenever I'm going to talk here in a few minutes about May's performance, you'll see that the net revenue in the general fund is still relatively low to what we are experiencing right now. Again, I'm just trying to keep a cushion there to finish out the year with expenditures, and also as we close out the year, making accruals and adjusting some of my balance sheet accounts, just keeping a cushion there for us. But as we go through this detail, I'm not adjusting every line in the budget. I'm just hitting the ones that are so far out of variance that it looks kind of odd, so I'm just cleaning those up for the auditors. If you open up the detail, and we'll have Audrey read the summary once it's introduced, but if you open the general fund and combined utilities detail, I'll just point out some highlights here. As you'll see in all departments, so I broke it down by department and then the various lines that we're going to adjust for the year. All departments, you'll see health insurance is increasing significantly. And our medical claims that we've paid out this year have been much higher than we anticipated. So I'm increasing the budgeted expense that the departments see to help fund those claims costs. Down into police, they had a revenue line will increase for some CARES money that came in. We had a last payment received on that throughout the year that wasn't budgeted. You can see motor fuel and lubricants, that line you see I'll be increasing throughout all the departments that have a significant fleet, just due to gas prices that we didn't anticipate. Parks and Rec, the third one down, I'm decreasing their building expense. We originally budgeted $111,000. We were going to do a gym floor and then a parking lot on the side of their building. We're only going to do the gym floor, and even at $75,000, that's still way over what the bid came back. I think the bid was for about $46,000. So again, just leaving them a little cushion there to kind of help offset any overruns with that project. The pool part-time wages, I've had to increase that. The way the pool runs, half of their year is in one fiscal year, half of it's in another. So we've hired guards this year at a higher pay rate than what we were paying them last year. So just increasing that line for them. On the next page, you'll see the fire department. I'm increasing some expense lines there. Their overtime, we've discussed this in the past. They're a young department. They need their senior officers on duty a lot more, so we're seeing a lot more overtime to help cover shifts. Passenger vehicles, I've added in, that is the cost of the fire truck that we bought. So originally, whenever I was going into this year, the way the terminology of our financing agreement was with that truck, it called it a lease, but after further discussion with the auditors, the terms of that lease, since we take ownership at the end, changed the way that we have to account for that. So I'm adding it in as an expense, but it's essentially going to be moved into an asset class, kind of an accounting thing there.
That was it's like a lease purchase. We're going to continue to pay the lease payments every month over, what, 7 years?
7 years.
And then at the end of that 7 years, that we own it. So that it's really not a change in our expenses in terms of monthly, but it's now become a true asset on our balance sheet for the value that we.
Right.
Are you still able to depreciate it over that 7 years?
Yes. And then the next department, finance, that's showing where all the revenue's coming from to help offset some of these increased expenditures. As we've talked about, occupational license fees are up significantly this year. Net profits are too. The miscellaneous revenue line, 4690, that $350,000, that was that insurance reimbursement that we got from the Tracy Hudson case. And then the restaurant taxes are running way ahead of budget. So that's directly offset as an expense. And in the street, you'll see the improvements other than buildings. There were some overruns, I believe it was on their shop. So when you see that, just know that there's many other line items that are falling way under budget. So I'm just, again, correcting this one line item that's showing, I don't know, I think it's 120% of budget. So just again, correcting that so it looks a little bit better. And then moving on to the combined utilities. That would be page 3 on that slide deck there. On the electric side, just getting some of the service revenue in line with what I'm seeing and what I'm projecting to happen through the end of the year. On line 7180, construction equipment, they had a contractor retire, and they were able to purchase one of his pieces of equipment that they would find really useful. It was a trench digger conduit for them, so they wanted to purchase that. And again, I normally frown upon the capital expenditure going over what we've already budgeted, but they had other line items that were under budget to help offset that cost. In water, you can see other grants I've taken to zero. That was ARPA funds. I'm not going to utilize those this year, and kind of plan to use those over the next few years. 4990, the transfer from other funds, that would have been a transfer from the sewer enhancement fund. I'm not going to use that either, again, because water's revenue is able to offset the expenses that they're seeing this year. Down on the expense side for water, salaries and wages, they're running a little bit over budget. Again, I hope to level that out this coming year. I think what's happening is, in past years, they override their allocations like we've talked. So some of their public works people are being overridden and put into water, whereas in the past they were working more in sewer or street. So going to help. So I'm going to go to a fixed allocation next year. So hopefully I don't see this anymore. The construction, 7,300, reducing that down quite a bit, just because their construction projects are moving a lot slower than what we anticipated. Next page, sewer is pretty much the same thing. The transfer from other funds, KIA loan and other grants, all those line items have been reduced to either zero or reduced by what I'm projecting to see. And then again, their expense line, 7,300, again, reducing that construction just because those projects aren't coming online as quickly as we thought they would. Garbage, the big thing there would have been health insurance, and then their fuel costs are up significantly this year. And then on to cable, again, fuel, health insurance costs to help offset that. And then the second slide deck that you have would cover all of our non-major funds. The first one, self-insurance funds, up quite a bit, again, just due to all the medical claims we've been seeing this year. The next, the depreciation fund, lagoon fund, and sewer enhancement fund, those are all changing because of the transfers that we're not needing to do into sewer and water. So, and then the asset forfeiture fund, I'm increasing their revenue and increasing their expense the same. They've had some pretty large busts where we've got to take in some forfeited funds. There. Any questions on those?
Okay, so this is our first reading for our amendment. I guess we do need to introduce it. And so we'll do a second reading at the next meeting. So I need a motion to introduce B 2022-07, the fiscal year budget amendment.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Butler. All right, he's introduced, I'm sorry.
You want to read it, Mayor?
Yeah, there's something you can read, I think.
Yeah, there's a summary. When Aaron started saying we were going to look at the detail and then have Audrey read, I thought he was going to say the detail. Ordinance number B 2022-07. An ordinance amending and adopting as amended ordinance number B 2021-06, the City of Bardstown's budget ordinance for the fiscal year July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Whereas an annual budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 was adopted by the City Council of the City of Bardstown on June 22nd, 2021. And whereas there have been unanticipated changes in both revenues and expenditures during that time, now therefore be it ordained by the City of Bardstown, Kentucky that Section 1, the annual budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 is hereby amended as follows. Number 1, general fund, increase anticipated revenues from $11,260,930 to $13,110,630, and increase authorized expenditures from $11,060,930 to $12,094,025. Number 2, combined utilities fund, decrease the anticipated revenues from $48,281,250 to $47,556,300, and decrease expenditures from $49,997,650 to $47,556,300. Number 3, self-insurance fund, increase the anticipated revenues from $1,472,550 to $2,678,550, and increase expenditures from $1,472,500 to $2,678,500. Number 4, depreciation fund, decrease the anticipated revenues from $435,010 to $10, and decrease expenditures from $475,000 to $0. Number 5, lagoon cleaning fund, decrease expenditures from $435,000 to $0. Number 6, sewer enhancement fund, increase the anticipated revenues from $239,000 to $289,000, and decrease expenditures from $1,300,000 to $0. Number 7, asset forfeiture fund, increase the anticipated revenues from $15,000 to $92,500, and increase expenditures from $6,250 to $16,750. Section 2, the annual budget is hereby amended and attached here too, reflecting the above referenced amendments to the revenues and expenditures that comprise the fiscal year 2021 through 2022 budget for the City of Bardstown. Section 3, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect following publication as required by law.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. This is the first reading, so we'll do our second reading on this at the next meeting. All right, looks like we're now at we have a supplement to the Code of Ordinances, B 2022-08. I guess, Gary, that might be your...
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I can explain that one. We did a supplement or an update in December of last year, and we've only had 3 ordinances in this supplement. We did it through about March, and it takes them about 6 or 8 weeks to go through the update process, so we've had this one for a month or so, but it updates the ordinances this year through ordinance number 3 and verifies them through American Legal Publishing. And another reason we did that is we wanted to stay on a schedule where we go about every 6 months for these supplements. So we did one in December, we're doing now, we'll do again in December, and try to catch as many ordinances as we can more often. A reason for that is because we're updating our website where we'll have online ordinances also. So everything's searchable. We've been running it through a test a little bit for the last month or 6 weeks, and instead of having to go to each individual ordinance and know what the ordinance contains to search for something, you can just put in a search term and it'll go straight to all the ordinances that include that search term. It makes all the department heads' jobs easier. They can research their own departments and ordinances easy. Probably helps with police. I'm sure you guys look some things up. Residents will have access to it on the website, so we started that service. It's a pretty nominal fee, and Aaron said it was okay, so. It fits in the budget and it's spread among all the departments, but, so we're just gonna try to stay more updated with the ordinances over time, do supplements every 6 months. When we pass these 4 ordinances, we immediately send them to American Legal, and they'll update them on our website within a week or 2. So we're having, pretty quick turnaround. The supplement's only 6 months, but every time we do an ordinance, we'll send it to them and they'll update it. So I think it's a good service to have. It's going to make, research a lot better for everybody. So just get a little
And a
back.
lot of cities already have this, because I know like sometimes when we're passing a new ordinance and I try to compare what comparable cities are doing, there's like a searchable database. So it's, I think, helpful for us to be able to compare to going forward and search a little more easily too.
I tried to find information on short-term rental on Planning and Zoning's website the other day, and I kind of knew what I was looking for. It's buried under something totally that I never would have thought to look under, so
Change
it'll be
their
very
website.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, if, does anybody have any other questions of Gary on this? This is the first reading, we just need it introduced this evening. If someone would introduce ordinance B 2022-08 as it relates to the supplement to our code of ordinances.
Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to introduce ordinance number B 2022-08, a code of ordinances, and ask our city attorney to read the summary, please.
Thank you. Ordinance number B 2022-08, Code of Ordinances, an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the City of Bardstown, Kentucky. Whereas American Legal Publishing Corporation of Cincinnati, Ohio has completed the 2022 S24 supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the City of Bardstown, Kentucky, and it contains all ordinances of a general nature enacted since the prior supplement to the Code of Ordinances of this municipality through Ordinance B 2022-03. And whereas American Legal Publishing Corporation has recommended the revision or addition of certain sections of the Code of Ordinances which are based on or make references to sections of the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and where it is the intent of the council to accept these updated sections in accordance with the changes of the law of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Bardstown, Section 1, that the 2022 S24 supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the City of Bardstown, Kentucky, as submitted by American Legal Publishing Corporation of Cincinnati, Ohio, and is attached hereto, be adopted by reference as if set out in its entirety. Section 2, that this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its date of passage, approval, and publication as required by law.
Okay, this is first reading for this, so we'll take it up at our next meeting. Okay, we have one more first reading. It's the classification and compensation plan. And I guess, Chief, you might want to give them some background on the internal changes you all are doing that's part of this.
Yes, sir. So we had a sergeant's vacancy that occurred when Sergeant Riley resigned from BPD and went over to Bardstown City Schools to take over their security there. And we just completed our sergeant's testing process. We had 2 candidates that put in for that extensive process. They had to take a written test, they went through an oral assessment, and then they were ranked after that was completed. Currently we have, on our narcotics unit, we had an acting sergeant in that position. That was Mike Clark. I was comfortable with that, having an acting there because he had previous command experience. He just didn't have the title as a sergeant, but he had the experience that was needed to lead that platoon. Mike Clark did come out number 1 on our testing process. So the concern is if we take him and put him on late watch where that current vacancy is, that they'll lose that experience and the oversight of a narcotics unit. And as we can see throughout, not only in huge tragedies that have happened in the state of Kentucky and surrounding agencies, in a plainclothes unit, supervision is critical to have in a unit like that. They're doing amazing work. They're getting drugs off our street, but that unit needs supervision. So my request is that we'll take one of our officer positions and convert that to a sergeant and actually create the new sergeant vacancy to put over the narcotics unit that would stay with Sergeant Mark Clark. And then Jaron Culver, who was also in that process that he finished number 2, would be promoted and go to the late watch spot where Sergeant Riley originally was. So the overall impact to my budget is going to be pretty minimal, that we should be able, I worked with Aaron, we should be able to absorb our current salary line item with that, with pretty minimal impact.
Yeah, it's the same number of total officers, and you just got 1 more sergeant and 1 less patrol.
Correct.
So this is the first reading, so I ask someone to please introduce this ordinance B 2022-09 of the classification compensation plan as it relates to our police department.
Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to introduce summary of ordinance B 2022-09, classification and compensation plan, and ask our attorney to read it.
Thank you. Summary of Ordinance B 2022-09, Classification and Compensation Plan. An ordinance amending and adopting as amended an ordinance creating the Classification and Compensation Plan. This ordinance amends Chapter 35 Employment Policies, Classification Plan and Compensation Plan of the Municipal Code by amending the number of authorized positions, The amendments and additions reflecting number of positions, title, and pay grade respectively are: number of positions, 1, exempt police chief, grade 14. 2 positions, exempt assistant police chief, grade 12. Strike 3 positions, add 4 positions, police sergeant, grade 8. 1 position, detective sergeant, grade 8. 1 position, training officer, grade 7. 3 positions, detective, grade 6. Strike 20 positions, add 19 positions, police officer, grade 6, police officer recruit, grade 5. 1 position, property room technician, grade 5. 1 position, police IT support specialist, grade 4. 1 position, administrative assistant, grade 4. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect following publication in summary as required by law.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. Okay, we'll move on then to the financial report. I'll call on our CFO, Aaron Bowes, to go over May's numbers.
Thank you, Mayor. General fund revenue was strong for May. We recorded just over $1.4 million of revenue in the month of May, with 95% of that coming from occupational license and net profit fees. Year-to-date, our OLF sitting at just over $6 million, or 106.8% of budget. And our net profit line item is at $1.267 million, or 144% of budget. So performing very well. Year-to-date, general fund revenue is at just over $12 million, or 107% of budget. And that's current budget again. We're going to amend that and increase that so it won't look as good. General fund expenditures, $682,000 for the month. You can see in the chart there, maintenance or repairs, that was mostly just street supplies and repairs. That came in about $35,000. Where I put street lighting at $33,000, that's actually for sidewalks. I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but we've had that precision concrete cutting. They've been out doing their work on the first phase of getting those sidewalks evened out for us. That came in at $33,000 for the month. Year to date, we're looking at $8.9 million of expenditures, running around 80% of budget. Our net revenue in the general fund as of the end of May, $3.1 million. So we are doing very well this year. Moving on to combined utilities, revenue there remains steady, $3.9 million. It's up slightly, mainly due to KIA loan reimbursement, and that's for pump station work we've got ongoing there. Service charges make up 89% of the revenue for the month. Of course, $3.5 million is during the month of May recorded. Year to date, $40.8 million, or 84% of our budget. And combined utilities on the expenditure side, we saw $4.2 million of expenses. Year to date, that's running right around 77% of budget, or $38.6 million. If you see that first chart, that is electric expenditures. Just some things of note there on the electric equipment. That line item is $144,558. And during the month of May, we had a budgeted bucket truck that we bought. Came in at $126,000, and then $18,000 for that ditch witch conduit digger that they purchased, I mentioned earlier. On the electric construction side, $94,000 of expenses. $52,000 was for some underground work, and then they bought $39,000 worth of transformers to have in stock. On to water, sewer, and garbage. They're running around 62% of budget. Again, that looks low because of the large amounts of capital projects that are not advancing as quickly as we'd like. The first line item there, sewer construction projects, $542,000. We did have some work, Woodlawn Interceptor, that new line going out into Woodlawn, $245,000. Corman's Crossing pump station work, right around $230,000. And then our downtown project between water and sewer, looking around $80,000 there as that project continues on East Muir, 2nd Street.
Our city workers doing the majority of that work.
They are doing some of it. We have I believe it's Schroeder or Legal Engineers. Schroeder's the other.
You're doing a lot of water.
We're doing all the water work.
Yeah. Sewer, got contracted out.
Not much else there on those, just regular monthly expenditures coming out of those departments. And moving on to cable and internet, they're running around 90% of their budget, utilizing most of their money for the year. Cable net construction, fiber expansion work and head-end improvements, and then the cable shop construction. They continue to work on their new shop out on Kelly Drive. That was about right around $200,000 of work, so that project should be coming to a close hopefully soon. And then they actually have a vehicle on here. I haven't seen one of those in a long time, but they had 2 trucks budgeted to buy, and he got his order in before we switched to the Enterprise Fleet Management Program. He ordered these back in September, and he just took delivery of one last month during May, and I think he's expecting his next one to come in during June. So he's actually going to get a couple of trucks. And that's all we got. Net revenue for the combined utilities, $2.2 million.
I had one question, Mayor, just something I thought of while Aaron was going through this. On the cable affiliate fees, negotiations are when again for that?
Every 3 years. I think we probably got one more year before the next one.
Okay.
Yes.
With streaming and, internet on the rise, how does that affect our negotiations? I mean, as far as with the cable affiliates, I mean, it looks like it would put us in a better position to negotiate. Is that?
You would think that. The 4 networks, they're still in the, they come in pretty hard, And we tell them that, and say, here, look at your subscription rate. Our cable and internet numbers are declining, cable numbers declining, internet's going, and they know that, and that's their problem. They're answering to stockholders, shareholders, and their revenue is declining because their advertising revenue is declining. So then they got to raise rates on affiliate fees to help offset that. So that's the dilemma. So then you get into Bill knows about it, he's been through it, and you get into that,
Local stations and retransmission fees.
into that standout. But then there are still a number of our subscribers who want, network TV though, for all the other reasons, because there are so much prime stuff still on that. There's a certain demographic that still relies on those for major sports, major news, and all the sitcoms and all that, even though there's that other generation that's using streaming to watch their version of the sitcoms and so forth.
So our product price is going up, although our utilization is going down.
Yeah.
Basically,
The good news is we're offsetting that though with our internet take rate. And hopefully we're going to be getting some more money. Just a little bit of follow-up to that question. We'll be getting a resolution next meeting with the county that are using some of their, I don't know if it's ARPA or CARES money that they have spent specifically for internet and cable, that they'll be giving us more of that money to provide more of that service out to the county. So that'll help us there.
Thank you.
And kind of back to that budget amendment, you know, I'm amending the internet services and the cable TV service revenue. Both those line items are performing well. Again, cable TV, I made a note here, we've lost, now these are billable numbers, so the home subscriber numbers may be different, but billable households have decreased 465 over the past year. So we've lost 465 cable TV customers, but our revenue continues to increase because those pass-through charges that we get to, by ordinance, add on to the bill each year to help cover the cost of these local channels. That revenue continues to increase to help kind of offset those declining numbers.
The net kind of stays the same because the margin's there.
Right.
But we just have to pass on those affiliate fees when they go up, both on the cable channels as well as network. We have to pass them on to our subscribers.
In internet, we've seen an increase of 312 customers throughout the year. So again, it's really where I want it to go, because that's where the profit is. It's internet, of course, and a lot less complaints.
And this, all this, so this money coming that we increase our coverage out of the county is going to help us grow that business. We do have that.
Fiber around the county increases.
All right, any other questions for Aaron on the May financials? Everybody's head all be spinning with all the different budgets and all through the numbers, new budget, old budget, EMS and tourism. Okay, thank you, Aaron. We got staff reports. Anybody, any of the staff or committees? Chief, you want to talk about our
Yes, sir. This afternoon.
heat index proposal?
Yeah. This afternoon, Daniel Jeffries, the Director of Parks and Recreation, reached out to me with a pretty good idea and wanted to know if we want to partner with them. And I said, absolutely, we'd be excited to do it. So Wednesday and Thursday, the 15th and 16th, 1 to 2 and 4 to 6 here in their parking lot. We're going to have a fire truck set up there with what we call the squirt. It's a big boom that sprays water down, and it's free. We're inviting anybody in the public come, young, old, bring your pets and so forth. Just come and get in the water and have fun and cool down. Daniel and I discussed we'll probably do it again next week, as I believe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. They're calling for temperatures over 100 about the heat index. So this is just something free we can do for the people of Bardstown, and they can come and have a good time. I think Daniel's got a bunch of popsicles that we're going to be handing out also and stuff. And
Just makeshift water park.
yes, that's what it is.
Well, we were just kind of kicking out some ideas about.
Everybody's complaining the kids have nothing to do. I said, well, we got a makeshift water park.
This was something that Daniel had picked this up from another rec center in Kentucky, and it sounded like a good idea, so he and Chief worked that out today. So I think it'd be helpful for the community who trying to find a way to stay cool.
What was ours again, Chief?
1 to 2, and the reason we split it up is we figured 1 to 2, maybe the smaller kids would be there, and then 4 to 6. And we do have flyers for the media also. I think Lisa has some stuff.
It's Thursday and Friday?
No, Wednesday and Thursday this week. And then we have not set next week's yet, but we'll probably.
Bring something on Facebook thing.
Yeah.
Kids to do.
You think that the pool is a spot where everybody would want to be, but it is so hot that pool attendance has actually been down the last 2 days from normal because it's just so hot. So this might let you be over in the shade trees by the park and run over there and get wet, then go over there and get cooled down. So
And we're getting pretty good hits on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll be, Hannah got it up this afternoon, so we'll try to get the word out. So,
And the problem with the pool, like Daniel originally talked about, is maybe opening the pool for free. But for ever so many people you have there, you have to have so many lifeguards, and he just does not have the lifeguard support and stuff, so. We figured this would be a pretty good fun time, something different and stuff, so.
all right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Look forward to- I might come over, I got a Zoom meeting at 3, I might come over, I might need to be doused.
We invite the whole cast. There's no speedos.
Okay, we got new business, we've got and I think Dylan will talk to us about this, we've got to update our municipal ORM 2022-C with their encroachment fee schedules. I guess Dylan, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so this is our revised fee schedule for our land service permits and our plan reviews. Basically, it's just to cover our costs for personnel time and also the certain software that we use to track those permits. And just real quickly, I'll run through these. So for our land service permits, the Class 1 fee did not change. The Class 2, which is your single-family homes, went up by $50. And the Class 3 and 4 permits, which are commercial and industrial permits, went up by $100 each. And then down in our plan review, we don't have plan reviews for Class 1 and 2s, but for Class 3, that fee increased by $125, and our Class 4 increased by $100. And then we also have a minimum review fee that was previously $50. We increased that to $100 because we're spending more time on those.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
We have a minimum plan review fee for smaller projects. That was originally $50. We've increased that to $100 because we're spending more time on those.
Yeah, I think if I was correct, Jessica said, I don't think we've changed these since 2018.
2018,
It's been 4 years.
Yes.
And wages and the amount of time and the amount of growth and the amount of reviews we're having to do is just a ton of work in engineering to keep up with that. So we've got to cover our costs. And they've done some pretty in-depth analysis of how many hours they're putting into this and how they've backed into these new revised figures for this, these fees. Does this require you to read through all this?
I'm not required, I certainly can if you'd like me to, Mayor, but we're not required to read municipal orders or resolutions.
So, but we do need a vote to approve that, right? So, does anyone have any other questions of Dylan on it? They're modest or moderate increases, you know, it's 4 years since the last time we had a change. So if we have no other questions for Dylan, I'd ask for a motion to approve the change in our fee schedules, municipal order M 2022-03 for encroachment fee schedule and review fee schedule.
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Buckman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Dones. Any other discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Next one, we have a resolution R 2022-08 for Heaven Hill Industrial Revenue Bonds. I guess Audrey and I can speak to this. You may saw the news that obviously Heaven Hill did the groundbreaking for their new distillery project on 245 and Old Bluefield Road. As part of this, the county will be issuing industrial revenue bonds. So as part of the agreement, it requires the other legislative body to basically endorse the project, and that's what the resolution says here. So since it's a city and county, they've been doing a lot of industrial revenue bonds on some of their warehousing out in the Cox's Creek Barrel Reserve. This is just the first one they've done inside the city limits, anything recently for us. So
I think it's primarily because there may be certain things that we have to attest to for them to, go forward with it. So it's just showing our support. So,
Right.
yeah. And I think has the fiscal court already adopted? They've already approved.
yes, they did. They did theirs yesterday, and we'll do So if I could, do we need this introduced?
We need to introduce and vote it on. I certainly can read it, but I think you summarized it fairly well.
And Mayor, if there's no other issues with the council, I'd like to abstain from this vote if possible.
Right. You may be involved with the project. So it's resolution R 2022-08. We don't have to read it in full, but if anybody else has any other questions, you know, I think we've kind of covered it. You know, I've had a chance to read it. It's a $135 million project, and will be a big investment and also a big addition to the city and the county in terms of economic impact. Okay, if no other questions, then I'd ask for a motion to approve resolution R 2022-08.
So moved, Mayor.
A motion by Councilwoman Hart, is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Hibbs. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, and let the record show that Councilman Doe abstained from the vote. Thank you. All right, board appointments. We had Brandon Nakasato. He had to step down from that position due to work change in his employment. I think that's correct. And so Brian Rogers has agreed to step in and take Brandon's place for the balance of that 3-year term.
Correct.
Okay. And that's under the Human Rights Commission, and then under the assessment appeal for the PDA, you can't re-sign up or re-serve yet. Once you serve a 3-year term, you've got to go off and someone else has to take. So Jerry Florence's term is expiring. Is that right?
It had expired, and he was reappointed before we knew that. And the
Okay.
PBA filled us in on that, so he's been removed from the board basically for the secession reasoning. So it's a remaining of the term from now through January 1st, 25.
So we asked Joey Hayden, who you all know is a local realtor and auctioneer, to take over for Jerry's, the balance of Jerry's term through January of 25. So if I could, I'd ask for a motion to approve both the appointment of Brian Rogers to fill out the term for Brandon Nakasato on the Human Rights Commission, and Joey Hayden to fill out the term for Jerry Florence in our Assessment Appeal Board.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Williams, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Shekels. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry. Is that normal procedure for the assessment appeal board to have someone from in the real estate?
Yes.
That is
I've
normal
served on
procedure?
it.
Is there any conflicts?
I've served on it, and it's not a fun job.
Okay, but there's never any conflicts as far as if you're appealing an assessment and you happen to be, I guess you can abstain or recuse from it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what happens, you know, that just goes into play when, if they've gone to meet with the PVA and, you know, kind of made their case, if they think their assessment is not in line, then they can go to this board to appeal that determination. And,
Sorry to interrupt, Mayor.
no, that's okay. No, that's why we have questions. So I think the purpose of that is if you have people who are involved in real estate, they're better probably educated in terms of what values are, what properties are selling for, what new properties are being built for, and so forth. And I think there's three or
There's three. There's
three on
a
that.
city appointment, a county appointment, and I'm not sure who the other one is. Who's the other
I think
appointment?
David Davis currently sits on that for the county, and I forget.
David Davis sit on that board?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, we're getting there. Got 4th of July coming up, so we've got fireworks, sales and displays. We need to approve these applications for the Louisville Church of God, Lewis Enterprise will be handling theirs. They're gonna be at Burger King and Walmart. And then, Bardstown Boys Basketball Program and Mid-American Distributors. Where was that?
Kentucky Home Square.
Kentucky Home Square. So we have these two applications. I'm sure we'll have them every week or every meeting until 4th of July shows up. So have a motion then to approve both these requests for fireworks display and permit applications.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Hibbs. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Shekels. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, no cemetery deeds, but any member of the council have anything to bring before the council this evening on any upcoming events or reports? I can't believe that. I got a couple.
I don't know if this qualifies or not, but if it's does it have to be a report or something that's going on, or can it be a question in general about what something we covered this evening?
Yeah, you got comments.
Yeah, just comments. So it's really, it involves Aaron also. And one thing I noticed during this budget process of our own, I, for one, have received a lot of clarity, from Aaron, as far as the types of formatting that we get our reports in. I mean, I want to commend Aaron on that, but one thing that I've noticed since the budget's come to us for approval, there's so many different formats of budgets. Is there, and I'm not an accountant, I mean, it takes me a little while to get oriented, to a lot of some of this paperwork because I've become accustomed to what we do here at the city. Is there a way that we could standardize those budgets that come to us? In other words, tonight there were three different formats of budget, paperwork. Three different types of software, three different formats. So does that make sense?
Tourism budget?
Yeah, tourism budget,
EMS.
EMS budget, or 911 budget, and then our own. So is that something that we can require of these entities to kind of format?
I don't think you can, but it's probably what they have the money to afford as far as software goes. And of course, my software, most things you see from me is going to be in Excel anyway. So I don't print directly from my accounting software just because it would be 36 pages every month.
And I know E911 has their own accounting firm that does theirs. That's
right.
So they've hired out another entity to do theirs.
And I don't know, Councilman Jones, I've never seen the fiscal court budget, so I don't know what it looks like, but it may very well be formatted entirely different.
Well,
they may wish for the same thing, I guess.
Well, for instance, one thing that I think that the tourism budget lacks is comparison to the previous year. It shows you months, but it doesn't really show you a comparison to the previous year. So it's
required to do that.
That's good. Joe Crook brought that 5-year trip.
He did, and that was
Nice
excellent.
to have it yesterday.
Yeah, that was excellent. But,
Yeah. That's a good point, Aaron. We might just.
Tourism just changed their format this past year because they used to do it in one big form, just like 911 did. But she started breaking down
She got more
like the
detail.
grants. Yeah, there's certain times of months of the year where they expend more than they do other times of the year. So when she broke it down, it helped. I enjoyed seeing it the way she did because it broke it down to where the majority of the money is spent on certain times of the year versus other parts of the year. So that they only started doing that.
But it would be nice to have some history.
Well, they can still do
I'd like to see comparisons at least to the previous fiscal year to
That's a
see.
good point. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Aaron always has at least 3 to 4 years of us to review as we're getting there.
So are you wanting her to give you the previous year budget along with the new budget? Or you
That's
want-
what I'd like, yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
The actual.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
a good point. Thank you, David. Anything else on that, David?
No, sir. And that's something I could reach out to Samantha and let her know that next year, and even Joe, but sounds like Joe's already done it. So.
Yeah. This next time, if we don't get it when he presents it to us, we'll ask it for the previous 4 or 5 years. Okay. The only thing I've got to announce is that tomorrow, first responders or luncheon is at Station 2 here at City Hall. The Knights of Columbus and Masonic Lodge host that every year. I think it starts at 11. It's going to be hot, but we got some shade trees up there, and the things of early arrivals can get the shade trees, and those that don't, I think they'll probably move the tables around to take advantage of that. And it's 11 till 1, right? And then I think Saturday the 25th, the NAACP dinner is being held in St. Monica at 6:30.
25th.
25th.
It's the Freedom Fund banquet.
Right. So just make that announcement. If anybody wants to go, who should they contact? Sharon
Shanks, Jeff Stone, Pat Hart.
Thank you. That's all I have. Does anyone have anything else to bring before the council this evening?
Forgot one thing, and it was announced yesterday at our NILCA meeting, the blessing of the truck or whatever.
That's on Thursday, Flag Day.
Okay, the Flag Day is blessing all the emergency vehicles or first responders.
First responders, and then they're also giving out Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had gotten word about that for the new engine or not.
Giving out what with that?
Chick-fil-A, they're going to give a lunch box, and then you get a blessing as you pick up your lunch.
Right. If nothing else, I ask for a motion for adjournment. So by Councilman Buckman, second by Councilman Shekels. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good meeting. Lock it up.